Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Brett van Rensburg and
Daniel Factor
joining you here at the Double Ups podcast, video blog, whatever you want to call it. We're starting something new, something different out of South Africa. We obviously spend a lot of time on the water and a lot of time fishing competitions, and we thought it might be quite interesting to start a bit of a video blog, answer some questions, touch on some topics that people are often asking about, and basically give back to the public on a sport that we love and enjoy so much.
And I think the podcast will change as the episodes go. You guys can give some input and what you guys want us to discuss. And obviously, as the season changes into yellowfish season and dry flower season, and the podcast will change. So we look forward to hearing your feedback.
Exciting times. Just before we get to the actual show, we were just talking about anyone who's been fishing with Daniel Factor knows that if he hooks a good fish, you tend to hear this sequence of events play out. It's a monster! It's a 10-pounder! Fish of a lifetime! And the excitement then usually culminates in a 32 centimeter
Brett's got a lens that actually makes your fish look smaller. You know, if anyone took even like a good old Nokia, would have taken a better photo in your fancy lens.
Anyways, that aside, so we thought for the first episode we'd keep it to the basics. I think what we'll do in the future is we'll do more kind of comprehensive episodes on technical information and like really finicky
There's
technical
some videos
bits
as well, some on the water videos. But
for the first episode, we're going to go with, we've been asked a lot of kind of general questions over the last couple of years, and we thought we'd stick to those. So Danny boy, I'll throw the first one to you. Being a shop owner, this one probably fits quite well. The question comes from somebody out of Cape Town. We're not going to use names, Poppy and all of that. We've got to be careful. But the question is, what rod and reel should I buy if I'm getting started to fish lakes and to fish rivers?
So it's a good question, and obviously we deal with this question every day from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. we get this question, and the truth is that you have to spend money where it matters. For example, the most important thing is the fly line, especially with Stillwater. So let me start with Stillwater. Stillwater, you can have the worst rod and worst reel and the best fly line and still be able to cast a full line. And on the other hand, you could have the worst fly line and the best rod and the best reel and struggle to cast 10 meters. So fly line is the most important, and it's difficult. I'm going to use brands, but I don't believe there's a single fly line brand out there that kind of covers floating, stick, and intermediate. So we've got our options that I like. For example, floating line, I either use the Airflow Universal 2.0 or the Scientific Angler's Amplitude. Intermediate, clear intermediate, my favorite line of all time.
Line. I agree with that.
This clear camo Scientific Angler line. Yeah. It's just catches fish. I don't know what it is.
Well,
it just catches fish.
People always ask me, you arrive at a lake in a competition, they're like, what line are you going to fish? I'm like, that line.
That line.
I start 9 times out of 10 on that line.
It's a fish catcher.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to your sinking lines, I really like Airflow. You can't beat them. With the 40 plus range and the 6 cents range, and then Rio's got a really nice selection of sweep line, phantom sweeps that we like, and that's kind of my, kind of when I run the shop, I kind of stock what I like. I don't have one line on all the different ranges I offer. I kind of handpick what I like, and that's what we promote. Reels doesn't really matter, guys. It holds the line. Cassette reels are nice for still waters, but
why?
Reels,
maybe explain why.
Cassette's nice because when you travel and moving along, you don't want to carry 5 or 6 or 10 or
different reels.
30 reels. You want to have 1 or 2 reels and all the cassettes that interchange, and it gets expensive. You buy 30 reels and rather buy 2 or 3 reels and 20 spools.
Yeah.
And you don't need that many lines. We blame our skill, our fault on not able to catch fish on having the wrong fly line.
Yeah.
So we just keep on buying lines, to be honest. But to be honest, you need 5 or 6 fly lines to kind of.
I think once you really get into it, if you've got a good floating line, maybe something that sits just under the surface, like a hover or midge tip, something like that. Clear camo ends, can't beat it. It'll be the first line I had. And maybe a DI3 and a DI5.
And the DI3 and the DI5, I really like the 40 pluses because they're easy to cast and also come up the water column instead of staying there. So you kind of cover multiple water columns throughout your retrieve, and your flies are always ascending. coming up through the water column, and that's a big trigger for fish.
Yeah.
Flies moving vertically up the water column.
The columns. I mean, and that's it. When you arrive at the water, especially if it's a still water, you don't know. For me personally, I want to test as many columns as I can. That's why I quite like the clear inch, because the speed at which it drops, I can still get deep enough that I can test a lot of water columns. But I'm also not right on the bottom immediately, just fishing the bottom. So it gives you options and be a good starting point.
And then when it comes to rods, you don't need to buy expensive rods. I really like the Vision range and the Guideline range. Those are my two favorites. The problem with a lot of these marketing, with these rods with their marketing, is that they build these super fast rods, and fast rods are easier to cast, and that's how they sell them. But the truth is, they actually aren't easier to cast. Your timing needs to be more precise. It makes it more difficult for your average bloke. And the softer rods land more fish. Fast rods, they bounce fish off and they pop fish off because the rod can't absorb any of the pressure. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I don't want to know how many fish you had takes from. I want to know how many fish you put in your net.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's all conversion. So like me and Brett fish very light rods.
Yeah.
We both like the Guideline and Vision rods because they're soft and they give you the ability to land fish on lighter tippet. And another big thing with the lighter rods is that it gives you time to open your loops a little bit. So when you cast in 3-fly rigs, on a faster rod, you get all these tight loops and your fast tangle a lot easier.
Yeah, stay away from it.
So yeah, and you don't, most of the fish you cast on a full fly line anyway, you're going to lose them.
I think just to add to it, the one thing I'd consider when buying lines to match your rods is, especially if you're starting out, maybe buy one line size up from what you've bought in rods. So if you're buying a 5-weight rod, get a 6-weight line. And the reason for that is it'll be slightly easier to cast. If you don't overweight it too much, it's actually quite nice to cast. And then if you end up buying a 6-weight rod, then you don't have to have two different sets of lines. So you cover both worlds with one set of lines. And then 5-6-weight rod in South Africa is probably roughly where you want to be, unless you're really fishing maybe the Eastern Cape with some proper wind.
No, but you're fine. But it also depends what brand you buy. So that's why it's best to speak to someone, because every brand, their weight is not. There's no science to it. It's they kind of put a label on what they want to sell.
Yeah.
So some rods are 6-weight is a 5-weight and 5 is a 6.
Yeah.
And one thing we haven't discussed about rods is that 10-foot rod, guys, 9-foot rods.
Go 10.
Yeah, if you fish in a single fly, maybe a 9-foot rod's for you. But there are so many advantages with a 10-foot Stillwater rod over a 9-foot Stillwater rod. And unless you're buying a rod from your great-grandfather, inherited a rod from your great-grandfather, you want to use a 9-foot rod, go for it.
And if you inherited a nice one from him, speak to me, because I like those old rods. I want to buy it.
And I've seen a lot of people pushing 10-foot rods, but I promise you we spend a lot of time on the water, and there's a lot of advantages.
There's a science to it. So if you take everything you do when you're casting, because your rod is an extension of your arm, it's effectively a lever or extension of your arm, every movement you make, the slightest wrist movement is accentuated. Your rod tip comes so much further back. It works the same when casting. That extra foot on your rod tip, when you're trying to open your loop, it accentuates that rod loop and the loop you're throwing, and it opens it up. So to Dan's point, when you're trying to throw 3 flies and you're wanting to keep an open loop, that 10-foot rod is helping you do that all the time. So definitely 10-foot rod for me is a
And it also makes the rod a lot softer.
Yeah, the tip.
The tip a little bit softer, and that for us is about conversion.
Yeah.
And the hang. The hang is where you catch 30 to 40% of your fish.
At least, yeah.
And the longer your rod, the more accentuate the hang.
So maybe while we're talking about the hang, it's one of the questions that came up is how often do you fish the hang off a boat? For me, you've got to be fishing it all the time. So here's the thing. So when we fish in a competition and you two up on a boat, the guy next to you is casting and bringing fish in with his flies all the time, and you're doing the same. So effectively, you've got somebody doing half the work for you sitting next to you. So if for every fish they bring in on their retrieve, if your flies are hanging there, you have a very good opportunity as that fish turns off to pick that fish up. And the second part of it is you might have a fish follow you the entire way in, but you haven't got the pace or movement right. But just a slow hang and really a long hang. That's the thing I've had to work on, is leaving that hang there for a long period of time. The number of fish that you catch 20 seconds into a hang, it's crazy. It's scary.
I think if we had to know how many fish are chasing your flies every cast and not eating, you'll actually be shocked.
Yeah.
So
Do you remember the day we practiced on your dam?
Oh,
There were like
tough.
800 fish schooling below us. We couldn't catch one. So you got to keep your fly in the area. But just on the question of the hang,
Yeah.
you should be fishing at most casts, unless you've maybe seen a rise you want to cover and you want to quickly get it up and down. But hang and change your hang. Deeper hang, longer hang, shorter hang, closer to the boat, further away from the boat, bit of a jiggle, very static. Change it till you find what they want.
I know when the hang works really well, I sometimes purposely cast shorter just so I could have more hangs. So I know if I cast shorter, I could have maybe 30% more casts and 30% more hangs during my retrieves.
Yep.
Instead of spending time retrieving through the middle of the ocean.
Leads nicely to our next question. So our next question is from a comp angler in Johannesburg asking about, are we still trying to throw full decks of line? I'll give my opinion, you can add to it. I think if you're fishing on a bank and the fish are deep and far out, there's times to be able to, you've got to have the capability to do it. But what I noticed the last few World Championships we fished is the really good anglers off the boats are casting so short. I mean, Michael Bradley, sorry Mike for using your name, but he was in my session and I think he came second on the water. He wasn't casting more than 12, 13 meters. Like, it was ridiculous. He just reckons on a short cast, you got better contact, you make zero mistakes. He reckons the fish are in and around your boat anyway, especially in a stock lake like that. Obviously circumstances change things, but he's just so consistent in what he does. He's using a Belgium roll cast, so it's flat out the back, big arm over the top, which means he's got a big loop, no tangles, 3 flies presented well, and he's in contact straight away. Like, that's my experience. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Brett. There's like, the more I fish, the shorter I'm casting. It's also, if you're on the bank in this wind, or you're in a boat or a drifting boat or a float tube, you're always changing angles. And as soon as you change angles, your flies are completely dragging like they would in a river. So there's nothing worse than trying to retrieve here and your flies are coming there. You haven't got contact, the flies are dragging.
And you get the eat you in trouble anyway.
Yeah, and if you hook a fish at a full fly line cast, the chance of you landing it, I don't care who you are, it's very slim. Doesn't matter how big or small the fish is.
Your percentages come down.
So rather fish confidently, fish efficiently, and fish short.
What distance would you say? For me, 15 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 meters. Next question. Okay, quick question. This is from a beginner outside of Joburg. When setting up a Stillwater leader, how do you set it up with leader, tapered leader, tippet? Like, how are you setting up your leaders?
Okay, let me take this one.
You go for it.
I don't want to spoil all the people that sell tapered leaders, but I have not used a tapered leader in Stillwater in, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to give, when you're done doing this, I'm going to give the converse of that, because there are some instances where I still use a tapered, but do the normal.
On a floating line, I use a poly leader. That is a 5 foot, it's a kind of a tapered leader made out of fly line. The problem with a tapered leader, in my opinion, is that it's got memory and it's got a lot of stretch. And the problem as well on the floating line with a tapered leader is that you want to fish your first fly quite high up in the column sometimes. Yeah. And if you fish a tapered leader that's 5 or 9 foot, doesn't matter what you do. If your flies are sinking, even your top fly's not in that zone. With a tapered leader, if you grease it up and now you've got maybe 70 centimeters to a meter of tippet between your tapered leader and your first fly, you can have it as high up in the column as you want to. Just depends how much you grease up.
Yeah.
The problem as well is we've got floating, hover, slow intermediate, clear intermediate, fast intermediate, DR3, DR5, DR7 sweeps, all these lines, and they all sink within 1 or 2 inches of each other. And if you're fishing a 9 foot tapered leader between your fly line and your first fly, what difference does it make what line you have? Because your fly line's here and you have no idea where your fly is, because first of all, a tapered leader's the thickness goes thick to thin. So the butt section sinks slowly, and the tip sinks quicker, and your flies are in zero contact with your flies. So
what do you do?
So I do is I make a small loop or a mini braided loop at the end of my fly line, and I fish my first fly a meter away from my fly line on anything subsurface.
Why are you taking the welded loop off?
Because the welded loop sits at an angle and you lose a lot of contact with it, and the closer your tippet is to the core of your fly line, the more contact you're going to have.
100%.
And some people do struggle with the popping off fish because you have so much contact, but that's something you can really teach yourself after
just by moving the tip of your rod and your retrieve, you can sort that out.
But yeah.
Okay, so you're fishing 1 tippet size,
Straight from fly line.
Straight
Anything
from
subsurface.
I do the same, guys. The only converse, and back to the start of the question, the only time I do any different is on my floating line. I will put a tapered leader for probably 5-6 foot, much the same as what you're doing with a poly leader, and then I'll build the flies off that, because sometimes I want to do different stuff with the floating line. Dry flies, and you want to be able to fold them over. Outside of that, it's one tippet size, and then you just play with the gaps. One thing I do slightly different to Dan probably is I think you do quite even gaps. I do my first 2 flies quite close together with a long gap to my trailing fly. I'll usually fish attractors on those top 2 patterns to bring fish in, and I find when they turn off it, I very often get fish on the back fly. But that's just a little tweak to what I like to do differently. But yeah.
And then back to that, I know it's a little off topic, is there's nothing worse than the fish seeing 2 flies in the same thing, unless you're doing the tractor thing saying. Yeah. So when you say, I'd rather have, if you're fishing 2 or 3 flies, if you're having 2 flies, rather put them as far as possible. And if you have 3 flies, you could fish 2 close together, 1 far, but don't put 3 flies in front of each other.
Okay, let's put Dan on the spot. I've been wanting to do this for years, because Dan, I mean, to be fair, Dan's one of the best Stillwater anglers in the country. I say that now, but it's difficult to say. but
don't tell Maddie, Richard.
No, don't tell Maddie, or a few others actually. But there's a couple of things Dan does that I've never really figured out properly myself. So one of them is his booby technique. So talk me through your booby technique, because I never get it right. Like, I've tried your booby technique and I'll catch fish, but I've had days with you where I'm 5 fish up on you, and then you come past me like a bullet train to beat me 15-6. Like, what is it?
So the booby technique is best fish on a clear intermediate line, and you're fishing 3 micro boobies far apart from each other. What I like about the micro boobies is, even though the fly is small, with the booby out, it still pushes quite a lot of water. And the trick with that line is that you need to fish really, really slowly with very long, slow draw. So what you're doing is you're getting your flies to settle, and then you're pulling them, and they're completely going up, and then you're pulling them up, and they're going up and down, and you just kind of like emerging. It's like if you kind of think about the hang being effective with an ascending and a descending movement, but that technique with the 3 boobies completely like amplifies that thing. It's just the flies moving up and down the column.
And it's 3 boobies all the time.
3 boobies all the time.
Okay. Different colors, different sizes, but usually small.
Yeah, all 3, same size, just different colors.
Okay, I'm going to try it. I've tried different ways. I've never got it right. It irritates me, but...
It's something we picked up in the Commonwealth in Ireland.
Yeah, I know. I just fished worms. It was good for me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You had it when there's still worms left.
Yeah, I had 1 left. That's so just on that, when you're fishing competitions and you run out of material and you're in some random area in some random country, it's absolute
Can I
hell.
just tell a quick story?
Yeah, go for it.
When we were fished together in the Commonwealth Championship in Ireland, we figured out that the chartreuse squirmy wormy, now it's illegal, was the fly. Like, it was like putting bait on your hook.
It was like taking a 6-year-old into a candy shop, and everything was a chartreuse.
And since then, I've never had the same success with the fly. But anyway, during the competition, we were all saving our worms, and then I think it's day 3, someone caught a fish, and they found another country's worm inside the fish's mouth, but it was a long one, like a snake.
Yeah.
So we took it home that night, and we cut it up, and we made three flies for the team with this long single worm we found in the fish's mouth.
We had rules. We were like, if you fish it, you have to fish 3x, because we don't want
to lose them.
And then we had like little excess pieces that we were glued together
to make it work.
It worked though. We did it all. It was brilliant. Okay, so it leads nicely to the next question, is around flies. So I mean, just commentary on flies from my side. It's probably the most commonly asked question. If I'm catching fish somewhere, someone will be like, what fly are you using? And sometimes I'll give it is the fly, but I'd say probably 8 out of 10 times it's got bugger all to do with the fly. It's either something I'm doing as a technique, or the depth of the flies, or the speed at which I'm fishing. It's usually that. But here's a question that I think is quite a cool one, is how do you know in a lake, from the conditions and the water conditions, what the right fly to choose is? Because a lake's different, and we'll speak about it in future episodes. A river is a bit like a map. You know where the fish are going to be found based on the structure. But a lake, you arrive and you're just looking at a glass surface. So how do you go about picking a fly based on what you're looking at?
It's a difficult one, Brett. And I think we say the flies don't matter, and I really believe in rivers they don't. But in still waters, definitely they do matter a little bit more than they do in the rivers.
Okay, so let's do this. I'll take you to a lake tomorrow, one you haven't fished. There's a little wind chop on the water, not big. You've got some weed beds. You can see a legacy riverbed.
You're purely talking about flies now.
Just flies. How are you going to pick off your flies?
You first have to know if the dam's stocked.
Good point.
Stock lakes, you definitely need some color. I think less color is more important than more color. What I mean by that is I'd rather have one bigger tractor or two smaller tractors than having 3 blobs. I kind of think about my lead. I always fish 3 flies unless the water's really clear, and the fish are really clever. It's kind of you've got 3 opportunities. So there's not 3 independent flies. You kind of need them to work with
together,
each other.
Yeah.
So I like to have either color or size as my attractor. So I'd rather put something one really big fly or some with a lot of color. Like a blob is a really good fly because the color is important, but more important, the blob, it pushes a lot of water because of the profile.
Yeah.
So you want something either size or color to attract the fish, and then you must give them something that they look and they'll eat. Like for me, a small black streamer and a small olive streamer are the 2 flies I always have on my rig.
Yeah.
Because those are my 2 favorite colors. Sometimes I'll put an attractor bead on them. And kind of a blob is you always put them on, even if you're not catching it, because it brings fish in. Very rarely do I ever take off the attractor, the blob or the booby blob or the fab or whatever you want to fish off my rig.
Look, I think that kind of nails it down. The only thing I'll add to that is consider the style of fishing you're going to be doing. So I'll give you an example. The last nats we fished, I wanted to get down onto the weed bed, so I picked a line that would get us there, and then I wanted to use flies that you would typically pick up moving on the weed bed, so little damsels, skinny olive buggers, something that you would find down there. So maybe just consider what you're seeing in the water, what insects you're seeing. It'll give you a good indication. But yeah, stocky, definitely some color. You want to move water, I think is a big one. And confidence flies.
Confidence flies.
Yeah.
I mean, I fish the same flies within the lake anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important that you understand the techniques, because the weighting and the buoyancy of the flies as a team is the technique. That's the most important thing. Do you put your heavy fly on top? Do you put your booby on point? Do you fish in wash and
How many columns do you want to cover?
Exactly. Do you want to fish your columns top to bottom or bottom to top? And how does the tungsten fly in the middle affect the booby on top? Do you want that movement?
Do you want to keep all your flies in one column? I've had days in certain dams where I'm dragging the flies on the dirt. You can feel it, and the fish are eating it off the bottom. Depends how you want to do it. Okay, put you on the spot. Your favorite Stillwater fly. Your number one. If I gave you a rod and said you have one fly.
Oh, it has to be a blank saver. I don't know what it is about that.
Blank saver, chartreuse head, black woolly bugger, done.
That color combination is just
anywhere in the world that fly works.
Yeah, and if it's in doubt, just same fly with the orange bead.
I had such a laugh. I was speaking to Barry Upstall just before Commonwealth. He went training on Grapham Lake. He was there for work, so he went fishing. So he arrived with a plastic bag, like a pick and pay plastic bag, because he had no fishing stuff. The rod he had is real, and like a packet of flies. And he was like, these guys were dabbing and they were doing all their wet fly fishing, and he won the day, their comp on the day. I was like, bud, what did you fish? He's like, 2 blank savers.
No.
Hammered it.
What was your best fly world champs?
Yeah, blank saver.
What is everyone else's best fly at the world competition?
Blank saver. I love
Every
that
world
fly.
championship is a blank saver.
It's the same thing. So have it in your box.
There's a few different variations, but you can check it online.
Yeah.
We've got them in the shop.
Actually, we must send a photo of different sizes, variations. So just leading on from that, another question from the same person is, when do I know I'm ready to change a fly? So now I'm fishing, I'm either catching, not catching, whatever it might be. At what point are you changing flies? On my side, it depends if it's a competition, and it depends whether I know I'm doing the right thing or not. But if I feel like there are fish around and I'm fishing the right place, I'll give it 10 minutes maximum and I'll be changing. I'm not going to go longer than that. I know if I'm where the fish are and I'm not catching, then either my technique is wrong or my fly is wrong.
Yeah, I normally change a line before I change the technique. But if you think you're in the zone and then you do a fly change, I think when you do a fly change, it needs to be a major fly change. So I'm not going to change an orange blob to a light orange blob. You want to change colors completely.
Or you want to change something that changes the depth of where your fly's at. For me, I want to make that change that's going to change. If I'm fishing quite high, I want a fly that's going to bring it down a bit. That's probably the bigger one.
Yeah, the fish will normally eat it. You need something that will trigger them completely.
Yeah.
So big fly changes. I think that's the size and color.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Here's a nice one for us. River fishing now. We've got a shift mindset. So go across. How does weather affect your fishing on a river? So they've mentioned clouds, rain, temperature drops, pressure, a lot of stuff here.
Okay, well, let me start with one and you take another one.
Okay.
Water temperature is a big one.
So I'll take the easy one.
That's the easy one because I had experience with it yesterday and last week. When water is too warm, everyone knows that the fish get lethargic and they get slow and they move to deeper water where there's, they feel more comfortable. And sometimes they move into really shallow water because there's more oxygen available. In winter, when the water gets too cold, and we're very lucky in Johannesburg side and Mpumalanga, we don't close our rivers. The same thing happens. So if you go into one of our local venues like Van Lawrenskloof or Neugedacht or Rivendale,
any of them,
the water, when it gets really cold, I think sub 11 degrees in my mind, like at the moment it's 8-9 degrees, the fish get as lethargic as they do in summer. You can have when we fish and the water's like 15, 16 degrees, you expect the fish is there
optimal.
To get a eat immediately.
Yeah.
I don't cast twice in the same hole. Yeah. Very rarely.
They definitely slow down when you're down to 11, 12 degrees.
Yeah, and
definitely.
I was having last week when I was training, I was having like 5 or 6 drifts in the same hole, then getting the eat, and have to purposely slow down my drift to get the eat.
Yeah.
So
keep it in that zone longer.
When the water's really warm or really slow, just slow down your fishing and choose the right holes.
Yeah.
Less chance of the fish being in the B water.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take cloud cover. Cloud cover I quite like. So this is one I've learned over the years, taking a bit of time. So what I do typically is the Bushman's a great example. It's the one I find it works the best on. If I'm fishing and it's bright sunlight, typically my bead color, I'll stick to like silver, rose pink. I find that works well in the bright sunlight, whether it's the way the light catches the bead and attracts them or whatever it might be. But as soon as clouds come over, and I promise you, please try this, it works so well. As soon as the clouds come over, even if it's just going to be for 10 minutes, change that fly to copper, gold, nickel, something duller. You'll see the fish come, you'll see they go off the silver, they go off the rose pink, and they start eating on the duller colors. So that's something I've learned. And then also the fly color. So I found in obviously when the cloud cover comes over, darker colors work better. So I'll go to like your much darker shades of gray or black on my flies, whereas when the sun's out, I'll fish more natural, like duns and your normal pheasant tails, GRHE. So that's just a little trick that I use when the clouds come over, but it does change how the fish behave, just that cloud cover coming in.
Yeah.
Rain?
Let me take dirty water.
Okay.
That's a good one with rain.
Yeah.
Dirty water is a big one that I like to fish. I don't mind in a competition when the river gets a bit blown out because I feel pretty confident in fishing it. The trick for me is that the fish will all move to the edges.
Yep.
Because the water on the edge gets filtered by the side, and it's the clearest water and the easiest for the fish to see the food would be in the margins. So everyone's still trying to fish the beautiful holes in the middle, but the fish do move to the side. So stay away from the bank and fish the shallow margins on the side. Fluorescent beads work a lot better. Orange beads and pink beads, like Sean's flies. What do we call the thing?
Licorice, all sorts.
That thing,
that thing's bright.
And also flies with a lot of contrast. That's why I like those beads. Or those things. Even like a black fly with a silver bead works really well. Just contrast. Fish see contrast better than they see color.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. And in crystal clear water, I really like natural flies with with a silver bead, but lighter, everything lighter. Darker water, dirtier water, darker flies. Yeah. As a general rule.
Look, I think that covers off quite a lot there. We're going to keep moving, otherwise we won't get through this all. We covered how to cast without tangles. I think shorter cast and open your loops, quite simple. And if you're struggling to open your loops, go to somebody that can just teach you how to change small things on your cast. I remember one of the anglers we worked with was getting wind knots almost every cast, and some small tweaks to their cast open their loops, and the problem goes away. It's actually quite easy to fix.
You know, you get grown up, you get taught in tight loops, and we try and tell you open loops.
Yeah. I think casting tight loops has a place, but
Definitely.
To your point, you're casting 3 flies in windy conditions. Good luck casting tight loops all day. Like, it's not going to happen for you. Okay, so here's one for you. How do you mend your line properly? So, like, I don't know why you're mending line, but
this is from the river.
Yeah.
I think
mine is don't mend line.
Yeah,
something different.
I think with the new style of fishing, especially like the only time I can really think about it is kind of river dry fly fishing, and the kind of techniques that we're using now. You don't really mend. You kind of
build it into your cast.
You build it into your cast.
So what Dan's saying is, if if you're casting across a river with multiple currents, in the past you would get the dry fly down and then mend the line to create less drag on the fly.
To create the U.
And yeah, exactly. But today you can actually build that into your cast by casting like a C cast. Yeah. You can cast that slack into the cast already so that your drift is good. There's some nice videos. I think Devin Olsen's got a pretty good video online about that. We can also do one too. But I think that's what I'd be looking to do. And the same for nymphing and things like that. You're not really needing to mend. You can throw your tuck or your mend actually into your cast. So it's pre-done.
I think that the mending on the rivers, more guys with strike indicators.
Yeah.
And the strike indicator fishing is cool if you haven't discovered urine nymphing yet.
Yeah, urine nymphing quite exciting.
But I mean, it's still really nice to have. I mean, indicator has its place, but a big bushy dry fly kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, plus you get to eat on the big bushy dry fly. It's quite cool. Okay, leads again nicely. We've got how do I do a drag-free drift? I'm guessing this is for nymphing. It's someone out of Cape Town. I'm guessing it's going to be for. Well, I mean, we can speak dry fly as well, but. For me, nymphing a drag-free drift or minimizing the drag on your flies is critical. There are a lot of different ways. So I'll start off on this. Firstly, the technique and the way in which you cast. So how much slack you throw into your cast, how much contact you grab in your cast. All of these things are going to affect how much drag you have on your drift. The type of tippet, the tippet size you're fishing. A good example is now at World Champs, just by dropping one tippet size, you could feel the drift was better, and you were picking fish up. Yeah, exactly. You were picking fish up in the same holes you were standing on, just on one, dropping from 7x to 8x. I mean, it's crazy that difference it makes. So tippet size is also going to get rid of micro drag. Leader's another one. Wind drag, thinner leader material is going to allow you for less drag above the surface of the water, which means your flies are going to pull less. And then technique, probably the last one.
Yeah, I also think it's also like a little thing that I always try to explain when I do clinics is that with the angle with the way you nymph and having a very high up rod angle, the less amount of tippet least amount of tippet in the water gives the less opportunity for drag. So if you have 30 centimeter or 40 centimeters of tippet from your dropper knot to your indicator in the water, a fish in the same depth and having an angle where you can have 50 centimeters, you're obviously going to have more drag. So it's having the least amount of tippet necessary in the water.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing with comes about drag.
Look,
comes to thing.
I think if you're wanting to learn how to nymph really well, there are a lot of guys in the country that are Euro nymphing in particular very well. If you can get some time with one of those guys and spend some time, even just an hour, you'll pick up valuable information that will make a big difference. But I think what we'll do in one of our episodes is maybe get someone on the water and one of us and do a couple of videos and show a few things on how to do it.
Yeah, we do. Myself and maybe Brett will join us in September, October. We'll do quite a few crash courses on Euro nymphing. It is really like for what you get for the amount of time. It's really valuable.
Yeah, brilliant. Great question. I love this next question. It comes from someone we know as well, Comp Angler. How do I know when I got a bite while nymphing?
Oh, yes.
I used to feel it. I don't do that much anymore.
No, so you should see it before you feel it. But it's completely got to do with your technique. If your technique's right, you don't actually see it or feel it. The fish are just on.
Yeah, they're there. So yeah,
it's like a reflex.
Here's a great way. So when I started nymphing, I was a little bit behind all these guys. So it was all on feel. How much contact I could have, so I could feel that. And the problem with that is the amount of contact you have. You're dragging flies, so you're getting less eats.
And you miss a lot.
And you miss a lot because by the time you feel it, if you go watch their videos on Instagram at the moment, they're great of the fish nymphing, eating nymphs. See how quickly they eat those nymphs. And then there are videos on social media at the moment where you see how quickly they eat and spit out a fly. It's happening so quick. So for me, I'm doing it a lot on the site of my leader now because, and again, Devin Olsen's got a great video out on this. I don't know if you've seen it with the little rattle of the line, like the types of, he's done like 6 or 7 different shots of the line stopping onto a fish, the line rattle onto a fish, and he's done close-ups on them. It's brilliant. Go watch that. It'll give you a good idea. But that's roughly what I'm looking for. Alternatively, to Dan's point, I know at which point in my drift the fish is going to be there. So 9 times out of 10, as I get to that point, I'm giving it a little twitch. And a lot of the time, if you've got it right, the fish has already eaten the fly. And that shows how many times on a drift the fish is either attacking or eating. you don't know about.
No, that's crazy. I was fishing last week and I was nymphing, like in my mind, correctly. And I kept on seeing flashes under my indicator and striking. And I did not see or feel any of those tags.
Too late.
Too late. And the only reason I hooked all those fish, cast for cast, was because I saw the flashes.
Yeah.
But it just shows you how many fish, even if your technique you think is correct, is actually, you're still missing a lot of fish. So you have to get if your technique's right, the takes, you see them and you'll see them.
And if you're struggling when you're learning to get this right, just do a couple of lifts on your rod as you're in the prime zone, because you'll feel the contact of the fish in the eat, and that'll help you start to get a feel for it, and then you'll know what to look for.
It's also difficult because people use contact to try to overcome this.
Yeah.
And contact is, you get the odd eat.
What's the enemy?
It's the enemy.
It is the enemy.
Because, even with dry fly, for example, the better your drift, the better the fish eats the fly. Same thing with nymphing. If you don't have contact and the flies aren't unnaturally dragging, he eats it so well that even if you're slow on the take, you'll still hook him. But with contact, you get the dick, and those are fish eating and rejecting straight away because they can feel the contact.
I got a story on that in Spain when we were training with Pablo. So I get on the water with him for my dry fly session. And what you got to realize about the Spanish is they are just so much better at dry fly fishing than anyone in the world. Maybe the French, but they are just so good. So I get on, and in like 3 casts, I catch 3 fish on dry. And he's like shaking his head at me. I'm like, "What? I'm like killing fish here, like cast for cast." And I'm hooking them in the side of the mouth and the bottom lip and whatever. He's like, these are not eats. So he takes my rod, he makes a cast, and you can immediately see the drift is like perfect. And the fish eats, and he had to use forceps to get it out. He's like, in Spain, in our competitions, if it isn't in the mouth, they don't even count it. They're like, it doesn't count because the fish didn't eat it properly. So
that's amazing.
That's the difference, the power of a drift. And it works for nymphing and dry fly. So
same thing. It's just, and the one thing with nymphing that makes it hard compared to dry fly is that with dry fly, you can see if the drift is not right, and nymphing you really can't because it's subsurface.
I'll give another trick that helped me a lot as well. For those who fish dry dropper, I used to fish dry dropper watching the dry or creating a V on my leader, so I'd contact to the nymph and my dry was kind of just floating along. What I've started doing is if I drop my leader onto the water, if I feel I'm going to get the fish on the nymph, I watch kind of a foot at an angle below the water. If the water's clean enough, watch for the flash. And you'll be surprised how many times you just pick up the flash on the eats before the dry fly's done anything. So it's another little tick. You still in your peripheral are seeing your dry, but if you're watching there, you'll see a lot of eats on that nymph. It works really well. Yeah.
And that's what catches your fish at the end of the day.
Here's a good one, because, I mean, as you all know, we're comp anglers, and this is a question from a non-competition angler saying, how do I handle fish and release them so they're unharmed?
Sure. So this is quite debate with competitive and non-competitive anglers. Well, the truth is, if you hook a fish, the longer you fight it, the more lactic acid builds up it is. So we used to pop fish, and a lot of people don't believe it's good, and it's actually not legal anymore.
Yeah, it's been stopped.
I still believe that is the healthiest way for the fish, because
quick and gone.
It's in. Out, if you want to take a photo if you want to, and it's done before the guy would have even netted it.
You don't touch the fish.
You don't touch the fish. But either way, the techniques we use now to fight fish is the quickest way to get the fish in the net. And that's the most important thing, to get the fish in so there's no lactic buildup. And whatever you do when you unhook the fish or any handling with the fish is still in the water and your hands are wet.
Yeah.
I like to I put my net between my legs.
Yes.
And the fish is still there, got current, I unhook it. If I want to, lift up for a quick photo, and it's done.
But wetting your hands is a big one.
No, you have to, because you take away the slime layer, it creates infection, bacterial infection. Keep your hands wet, keep the fish in the water as long as possible. If you want to lift it up for a photo, make sure you lift it up over the water, not over the bank. Yeah. Because if they do flip out...
never drag a fish onto the bank or take a photo lying on the grass. That fish is going to be so likely to die. So if you can keep it in the water and take your photo above the water, keep your hands wet, then you're giving that fish the best possible chance, and be quick. Like if you're gonna spend 5 minutes holding that thing out of the water, it's not going to be good.
The one thing I do, and I see it a lot on my farm, is that if a fish has swallowed a fly for any reason, it doesn't happen often. A lot of the time I'd cut the tippet off instead of trying to dig in the back of its throat with the forceps. Because as soon as it starts to bleed anywhere, the fish chance survival is basically zero. Yeah. So sometimes I have done on occasion is I do cut my lead off. Yeah. Instead of trying to do surgery with him, because 9 out of 10 times it doesn't. And I catch a lot. I've caught fish before with flies out there that typically come out their mouth. Yeah. I think the chance of survival is great.
Probably better. So just on that, just from a competition point of view, I think worldwide competition anglers are doing a lot to improve how we catch fish, how we release fish, and it's changed even in the 10 years I've been involved. It's changed drastically. So yeah, I think it's good. I mean, we want to preserve these environments, we want to look after them, and that's the main priority that we take into competition angling now, and that's why we use these techniques, and they will work brilliantly on whatever fish you catch. Two last questions. I quite like this one. If you snag a rock on a river while nymphing, how do you get the nymph off without losing it?
Oh, okay. If you snag, so there's the way that I normally do is I normally wade to the rock and I use my boot and I lift it up.
Scuff it around.
Yeah, the only worst part is when the fly gets stuck in the boot.
Yeah, and then you got to.
Oh, that is a disaster.
The number of times I've tried to lean down and get it off and fallen into the water. And that's the best way to do it, though. The fly always comes out.
Yeah, it always comes out.
So just so you know, grab the line in your hand when you get up to it, put your foot down, follow the line down, and then just scruff your foot around a bit, and the fly will come out.
If you've got a single fly, then no one does, but if you've single nymphing, what you can do is you can take the rod and put it through into the top and then wiggle it and it comes out. But the rods we're fishing these days is not worth the money of breaking a section.
Yeah, the chance.
But definitely put your foot around and scuffle around and it comes out.
Just on wading, did you see the video that Lucinda and Maddie Rich did with him throwing her in the pool?
Yes.
How awesome.
Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
So this is one we get all the time, like people fishing rivers and they're scared they're going to get, their waders are going to fill up and they're going to drown. If you are wearing waders and you have a wader belt that's properly tight and clipped, do yourself a favor, go and jump in a swimming pool. Like you'll find out very quickly that it's very difficult for you to drown by filling your waders up.
Especially if you've got the rain jacket over it with the clip.
Yeah, if you've got the rain jacket, it's like nothing. I mean, how little water got in the waders, it was pretty impressive. We can actually post that, it's brilliant. So go try it. But I mean, the point there is, if your waders full up and you've got them loose, obviously you're going to get dragged in the water and it's a much bigger problem. That's really dangerous. But if you've got a good wader belt and it's tightly clipped, and especially if you have a wading jacket and that's tightly done, you can pretty much swim and very little water gets in.
Talking about that, let's show the guys the new product.
Yes, yeah, good point. So as you know,
Brett talk about it because
I love this product.
Brett's as impressed as I.
I love this product. So as you know, XFA sponsored the show. This is a product that we picked up and used in Worlds now when we were there. The Neoprene wading pants. Devil Stones was the best thing that ever happened to us. So you're working on a slippery river, it's cold water.
Chance of getting like water in your waders are like 8 out of 10.
And getting washed away was a nightmare. This made our lives so easy, and it's got so much application in South Africa. The vol, perfect. It's thicker. You're not going to get as many dings on your shins. It's going to keep you warmer. If you want to be warm in winter in your waders while you float tubing, or you want to wade out in a lake, brilliant. Like these things are an absolute win. So if you haven't had a look at them, that's my sales pitch for the day. Have a look at them. They're great.
The funny thing is that every time because we all shared my pair, and every time we get off the bus, all the teams are like,
people just shook their
"You're
head.
wet wading?
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy?" And then they all think you're legends and then everyone comes out shivering because they were wet waders. We're like, "What's up, dude?"
Or you see the guy below you leaning on the bank trying to get water out of his waders. He's like, "Hey guys,
wet wading in South Africa. That's what we do at Lekker,
It was great. Okay, last one before we close off. We'll each do one of these. What's your best tip you wish you knew when you started fly fishing?
Okay, I can definitely give you this, and this is something that I've only learned the last 4 or 5 years, is that stop fixating about the fly. As soon as you stop believing that there's a secret fly, and you start believing that there's a secret technique.
There are no secret flies.
Yeah, I mean, there's some flies that work better than the others, but they're all available. Yeah. Go to my website, they're all there. And also spend time working on your technique. Yeah. That's what catches your fish, not your flies. That's mine.
What gets me every year is when we sit with all the top guys from all over the world and we all open our boxes, it's all the same flies. Like, it is laughable. It is identically the same. They just fish them better than you, or you fish them better than them.
Like after day one practice in Czech Republic, we said to Australia, so guys, what's your best color? The dark orange tag or the light orange tag?
It was a joke. Yeah, exactly.
Every year, everyone's got the same flies.
Same flies. So don't worry about the fly. Dan's right, actually. Work on your technique. You're getting your technique right will allow you to catch far more fish.
Yeah.
Mine's a simple one as well. It's probably more for when you're starting out. I remember the first couple of years, especially when I was a youngster trying to cast, I was not allowing my line to straighten behind me before bringing my rod forward. And I know for years that irritated me. And eventually somebody said to me, all you need to do is just wait for the line to straighten out behind you and then bring it forward. And you'll be able to cast double, triple the distance. And it changed overnight.
No, I always tell people, you're trying to throw a cricket ball and try and throw as far as you can. You throw it from here, not from here. If your flies are here and you're trying to force them, they're going to flop.
Yeah.
If your flies are all the way there and then you throw it, it's like throwing a rock. You just get further distance.
100%. Yeah, that's it. Anyways, I think that's it for the day. It was good to have you with us. It was exciting to start this process.
Yeah, excited.
We'll see you at the next one.
Have a good, guys.
Cheers, guys.